are you?
Great. How are you
I'm
doing?
I'm doing so well. Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thanks for reaching out. This is such a fun thing to do on a Wednesday.
Absolutely, it is. So there's so many people now joining us. And for those who are just now joining, let me tell them a little bit about who you are. Just a little bit. I had to do the Cliff Note version because there's a lot going on. Again, you are the amazing Chantéa McIntyre. You are a wife, a mother of four, entrepreneur, and the powerhouse behind the lifestyle brand Change. You're a former Division One athlete, a motivational speaker, and currently competing for the title of Miss California USA 2025, where you placed first runner-up last year. Your journey is rooted in resilience, faith, and inspiring others to pursue their dreams no matter what the season. Hello
Wow. Can
again
I
and welcome.
can I change that to my ringtone? That was so awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Well, it was deserving, and that is exactly who you are, and then
Oh,
some.
thank you for that. Thank you.
So, before we dive in, do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are outside of the crown?
You know, that I love that. Well, I mean, I feel like you said so much just then. So I'm like, what do I want to add? I think what I want to add is that I'm genuine. I'm exactly who you see online, offline. I'm a little bit introverted. My husband is the extrovert. But I mean, what you see is what you get with me. That's the only thing I'll add.
Well, I believe that, and I can see that, through all of your social media, just who you are as a genuine person, and
Thank
even
you.
the response from different people who are so excited to be joining us this evening. So that is exactly who you are.
Thank
So
you.
we like to ask all of our guests this important question because we are a pageant blog, and there's many other pageant blogs out there. And as a title holder yourself, is there anything that you want to see more from
Mm.
our blog or just pageant blogs in general, either that be content or representation? What is your opinion of that?
Yeah, I do love to see the lives. I think it's so fun to see because you don't get to see the private interview. So you have no idea how a girl performs in that. So I felt like because I look forward to those so much, it's only fair that I give back to that sort of content. Um, but in addition, I love to see the preparation. I think there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes that not often we share because there's a little bit of gatekeeping on the journey, but I love to see that part.
I agree with you 100% because I always say, like, anybody in pageantry, we're kind of all in this together and we're kind of learning as we go, it seems to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I have to ask you, like I said, you do so many things, you're involved in so much, and triathlons and everything. I saw that and I was like, yes, yes. So, but you do so much. And so when somebody asks you, how do you manage to do it
Yeah.
all? How do you respond to that?
I respond by saying that you have to realize which balls are glass and which balls are plastic. I just read that quote recently and I just thought it was beautiful because, not every ball will stay up in the air at the same time. But some balls will bounce and some balls will shatter. And so it's a constant battle of which things are priority and which things can just sort of wait. Um, and I heard a speech by Shonda Rhimes, and she talked about how when you see her excelling in one area, she's falling in another. And I think, my son's got a jazz performance this Thursday. I know that's very important to him. So any casting, any job, anything extra outside of that is going to have to wait for this Thursday. But right now, my kids would love for me to be helping with homework. And so that ball can drop right this instant, and mom's here with you. So that's how I balance it all.
Well, I appreciate it and I won't hold you long because I know
Oh, you're all
it's
good.
important that they get help with their homework. So
And
let's jump
yes,
in.
I'll answer some questions. So put them in the chat. I'm
Yeah.
seeing you guys there.
Let's do it. Somebody said, would you answer any questions? It depends on what your question is.
That's
Um,
true.
so let's start with your pageant journey. So what
Mm.
initially drew you to pageantry from the beginning, and what was your why behind competing for Miss California
Yeah.
USA last year?
Yes. As I mentioned, I was a bit of an introverted child, especially. And so my mom was trying to find an outreach for me to be more extroverted, me more personable, more outgoing. I played basketball my whole life, and there's like an ego and kind of a swag you can have on the basketball court that isn't necessarily what you need to have in real life. And so I think my mom trying to find that balance for me put me in pageants, and I did them just sporadically, once every 5 years. Nothing serious. Now that I understand the sport, I know that if I was ever to be really good at it, I wish I would have done a ton more. But then in college, I played Division I basketball scholarship, as you mentioned. I'm 43. I'm seeing your question. I realized that I basketball wasn't going to be a long game for me, although I played it my whole life. And so I entered the Miss America system first. And I was Miss Fresno County and Miss Tulare County. I competed twice for Miss America. And then I met my husband in that journey, and we decided to get married. And so the pageant shoes sort of hung up. And that's what brought me to Miss USA. My husband asked me to marry him after I was Miss Fresno County, and I pleaded him to have one more year of eligibility for the Miss America system, and he obliged. And so after Miss Tulare County, I said, "Can I have one more year?" And he looked at me, and I was like, "Got it, copy." And so we got married that spring. And when Miss USA lifted the rules, I was just living my mom life. I literally was sitting on the counter. I just dropped my kids off, and I was eating an Oreo. I'll never forget it. And I saw the Facebook status announcement. Someone had reposted it, and I was like, I just put down the cookie very slowly, and I thought, if this is real, I better get on it. And so I ran to the gym. I was on the treadmill, just sort of fact checking and scrolling and trying to see if I could figure out if it was real news. And when I figured out it was real news, I could not not do it. I couldn't not do it. So here I am.
And here you are. And first runner up. I remember seeing that. I was like, man, what was going through your mind at that very moment when it was down just to the two of you?
I am a goal setter. So when I like manifest. Oh, I've got a child coming. I manifest. I think about this. I set goals. I backwards map. You're talking to an athlete, right? So we train to win always. So although I didn't win, I was training to win. I literally, every time I do a pageant, I think about, where's the crown going to go in my house? Where's I'm thinking about all the steps. So in my mind, when I got to the final two, I was like, oh my God, I did it. Like, I just was like, I can't believe I did it. I did it, And Tiana was looking at me, and I'm like, I'm feeling her energy. And then they were like, first runner up, it was me. And I was like, dang it. So close. I think I even mouthed, so close. And so that was just the feeling that I had. But really, I thought I was only going to do it 1 year because I'm a grown woman. I've got real life jobs and responsibilities. And so I think that was the hardest part to swallow, was that I thought I was one and done. But I came home. I just shared this on a post recently. I came home, and I'm, just being busy, unpacking, feeding the kids, just sort of like moving very quickly. And my husband was like, he grabbed me by my shoulders and he said, stop, because he could tell I was trying to distract myself. And he said, do it again. And so from that moment on, I've been training and pursuing this goal. So.
Oh, I love that. And I love that your husband is so supportive. Like in all your videos, he's right there cheering along with the kids. It's like a family affair. I absolutely love that.
It is this year, and I would say this year more than ever. My husband went with me to Miss USA. He went with me to Miss Universe. Like, we are all in, and he has been just a dream, which I have to salute him extra, because when he met me, I was a basketball player, right? And so this is a far cry from the girl that he met 20 years ago. But he's been on this journey with me and just so supportive the whole way.
And I love it. And you guys are celebrating, what, 19 years this month?
19 years in May. Yeah, you've done your homework, girl.
Yes, you were college sweetheart. See, I know.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, congratulations to that.
Thank you.
I have to ask you, we all have that post-pageant emotional drop, like when we get so close. Now you realize, you know what, I'm going to go for it again. Yeah. Do you feel any added pressure going back into it again, knowing you were so close last year?
It comes in waves. That first month, I just felt an incredible amount of momentum when my husband said I could do it again. Because, I went from, nothing wrong with soccer moms, but I went from like soccer mom to almost Miss California USA in about 8 months. And so I was very proud of that. But also, I mean, the older you get, the harder it is to get things lifted and tight quickly, you know? And so I was so excited about having a whole year to prepare. But also, every time I watch a girl, I have to admit, when I watch a pageant and the girl has, you know, who is first runner up gets like first runner up again or second runner up, or oh, like it's a little traumatizing to me, I have to admit. I thought Miss Texas, I just watched that this weekend. I thought those women were phenomenal. We knew it was going to be a bloodbath, and it was a bloodbath. And I think the winner was so incredible. But I did feel so much empathy for the girls that were runners up, because I've been there, and I just, to your point, there is a little bit of a letdown when you don't win, you know? And so, yes, it comes in waves. Sometimes I'm like, I got this, you know, this is my year. And some days I'm like, oh my God, can I do this?
And you speak of that because Miss Texas did just happen. What
Yes.
advice would you give those young ladies? Because I know some of them, like they said, they've done the pageant before. You know, what words of encouragement can you give those young ladies?
I think it's the same advice I gave to myself watching them be first runner up. Is I didn't realize that you literally could do everything right and still not win. It's hard to see that when you're the girl competing and everyone says you were my girl, you know? Because I mean, by nature of the sport, only one girl wins. That's the whole point. And so it's nothing to take away from the journey of anybody else or the qualifications of anybody else. It's hard to hear, but it's so easy to see when you're not competing that is the truth.
That is so true. And I always say that you still walk away learning so much about yourself. You know, you walk away as that winner,
Yes.
in many ways is what I
Yeah.
say. So speaking of that, outside of that crown, what does winning look like for you personally?
Yes. Really quick, Jimenez, Maribel, it looks like. The pageant's in August 7th through the 8th in Palm Springs. And sorry, and you said, what does winning look like for me
Yeah.
outside the town? Well, you know, this year it's really cool that because my kids get to see what it looks like to not give up. And, you know, you talk about a lot of things and you try to model, you know, perseverance and adversity and what it looks like to fail with grace. And they have been able to see me do that for an entire year. And they've seen me not give up. And it's just one of those incredible life moments I never thought I would be able to share with them. That it's firsthand view of what it looks like to persevere, not knowing what the outcome could be. We could be doing all this work and still not be victorious, but also just what it looks like to give it your all. And it, you know, it's so amazing to watch. You know, my middle daughter, she's doing track, and I can see those little lessons just trickling down to my children. And I think winning has already happened, actually. Don't get me wrong, I want that crown. I want it very badly. But I think winning is already happening.
Absolutely. So, social media, you are really great. Your content is amazing, high quality, it's very engaging. So, what is your creative process like when you're planning your social media posts?
Oh, I love that. We're talking business now. So I do a couple of things. Number one, I love Planoly, so I can plan, you know, what aesthetically my feed will look like. Also, I right now my big point is to just Arbany, for example. Arbany is somebody that I've fallen in love with so much more recently than when she was Miss Universe, and nothing to take away from her. But I think what she's doing differently is really letting us in her personal life. We hear her voice more. We get to just connect with her more. And so I'm taking cues from that and trying to really make sure that at least a couple times a week you hear my voice, that you get to know something a little more personal about me and not just the pretty pictures. The fans, we love a pretty picture, but I think we also need that connection. And so that's the journey I'm on currently.
I love that. So, you know, what advice would you give to title holders or just people in general who are like, where do I start? Like, how do I even start when it comes to posting? And, you know, some people aren't comfortable with it. So, what advice would you give them if they really want to put themselves out there?
Well, I would say first, before I even said that, I would say that I would keep in mind that winning doesn't mean that you have a lot of followers. It doesn't mean that you have a lot of engagement. You can absolutely win this crown or any crown without posting on social media. I mean, that's just the truth. So I want to first release that burden from them. But then I would say, well, it sounds so cliche, find your why. For me, the why is when I was. Can you call Matea? She just called. Read that question for me because it's kind of long and I can't answer it and read this one. But for me, when I was pregnant with my fourth baby, I really wanted to be home with my children. And I saw in Good Morning America that you could make money as a mom blogger. And so that was my why. How can I make enough money so that I could quit my corporate job and just be a mom? And so the days that I don't want to shoot content or don't really want to write that caption or think of a new plan for this season, I have to remind myself that the why is so that I could be a fully present mother. And so that motivates me. So first find your why, right? And then just start, because I look back at my content 5 years ago and it was terrible. And but it's always going to be terrible, right? I always tell my kids, crappy, 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 then it'll be easy. It's something I repeat to them often. And so just start. It's going to be terrible. It is. It's going to be terrible for a while, and then it will get good.
Yeah, it's like anything else. You just get into, a rhythm and then you just keep going. Like I said, as long as you know your why, it can happen.
Yes.
So the question was, people want to know your IG. So
Oh,
someone just
thank you. Yes. And Bree, thanks. Hey, girl. How are you, sis? It's good to see you.
So moving on to more business. This is something that I was very excited to read and hear about, which was change. That sounds like that's your other baby. I call that your
Yes.
other baby that you built from scratch.
Yes.
What was your inspiration behind change?
Yes. So change is first, I should note that all of my children have M names and my husband has an M name. So I knew anything that I would birth would have a C name. So that's where change started. I knew it was like, I have to start with a C. Um, and then I was also on a journey to find a traveling yoga mat. I couldn't find one. And so I manufactured one. And that's really where it started, was my own need for a travel yoga mat. It folds into a 12 by 12 square. I can take it with me when I travel. And so that was my first baby. And also change is something that I repeat to myself when I work out. When you're tired and you don't want to do that last set, I always say to myself, this is where the change happens. This is where the change happens. And so I just sort of married those two concepts into my lifestyle blend. The hardest part, honestly, about being an entrepreneur with a physical product is that you have to, I'm the manufacturer, I'm the shipment company, I'm the, that part is hard. So I don't push it a lot when my life is so busy. I get probably 1 or 2 orders a month, but if I really talk about it and push it, then I get a tremendous amount of orders. So I have to make sure that I'm actually in town to send it, because I feel so bad when I can't ship the orders quickly. This is a good season. I could probably do that. But also, you didn't mention, I own a modeling agency as well. And so that has really picked up. And so we said entrepreneur, yes. And so lately I've been really had my agent hat on and been promoting my models and getting them lots of work.
So what keeps you motivated? How do you stay motivated when you feel, overwhelmed? Because there is a lot of moving parts and pieces, and you are the face. You wear multiple hats for your businesses.
Yeah.
So what keeps you motivated, to keep going strong?
Well, the blessing and the curse is that I don't sit still. My husband says that, right? So if I sit still too long, I get an idea for something else. So I do like to be busy. I like a full plate. But also, again, my why, I wake up in the middle of the night like thinking about going back to corporate America. I don't want to do it. It's not for me. My spirit loves the freedom of waking up and not knowing what today's going to look like. I love being able to, in the middle of the day, picking up my kids from school or being the room mom and cutting the stupid whatevers out. I love that part of life. So that is enough to motivate me to do all of the things so that we can continue this lifestyle we have. We've got a giant house, we've got, real bills. And so I've got to do my part to keep this house moving. And that's enough motivation for me.
So what is one lesson from your own journey that you wish you would have known earlier when right before you started, any of your businesses? What is that lesson you wish that you would have known?
What I mentor a lot of women in business now is actually just to start in a niche that you're comfortable with. Everybody's got a skill that they can monetize. Braiding, babysitting, folding clothes, whatever is something that you can do without thinking about, that's probably where you should start. That's when my modeling agency was born. I was modeling full time in San Francisco, Arizona, New York. I had several agents. That was back in, I won't tell them. It was a while ago, right? And so one time I was at a job and it was for War of Worlds or some sort of video game. And it was like midnight. And our job, there was 5 models, and our job was to pass out bathroom passes. And I thought, oh my God, I think we got paid like $2,000 each to pass out bathroom passes. And I'm like, this is the life. And then I started doing the math that my agent got 20% of each of us, and that my agent was sleeping and making more money than me, who was doing this easy job. And I'm like, I'm on the wrong end of this business model. And so, I mean, for me, that was an easy, natural niche for me because I knew the industry, I knew how to move in the industry. And so every woman is what I love to tell them is every woman has that niche that you're very comfortable doing. And so that's where you start. That's the business that you start with.
And that's exactly where you should start. And speaking of that, being a businesswoman and everything that you're involved in, I say self-care is so important no matter what. So what strategies help you protect time just for yourself?
Yeah, I fall there. I do. I don't really have a good advice for that. I mean, the truth is I have 4 children. I'm ambitious. I guess my answer would be little moments in the car. I mean, a little ice cream break. Sometimes I don't take the kids to Cold Stone. I just go by myself and I just eat it peacefully in the car. But there's not, I wish I had this big gaping moment where I could say I took a bubble bath or I did something really, even hours at a time. But no, it's like little sips. It's little sips during the day. It's like this. It's making time for this, even though, there's kid pickup and all the things. My husband's doing that for me right now. And I think what I've learned in life is that there's seasons, and in this season's a sip is going to have to be enough. I'm
Absolutely.
going to take off my blazer. I'm warm.
But you're right. It is seasonal. You take whatever little bits that you can get, and every season is different, So I agree with you on that one. So, you often talk about perseverance and purpose and dreaming big, and that's really very, very important to you. Even through tough seasons, you still have to continue on and march on, is like what I like to say. So what keeps you going during those moments of discouragement? Because we all get those moments.
Yeah, I sometimes will suffer from a little bit of anxiety, and I try to remember that the problem is I'm worried about the future and not the moment. And so when if I have an anxiety spell, I just say, okay, what is wrong right now? And I think about and I reflect. And normally there's nothing wrong right now, right? I mean, there's something wrong, but nothing that I'm worried about. And so I I think that the thing is to just be present, which is why meditation is so hard, right? Is to stay right where you are. And I think I mean, I think back to when I competed last year and I ordered the swimsuit for Miss California USA, and it felt like it was like this big. Like it felt like it was not I'm like, what swimsuit? Right. And I think about the panic attack that I literally had thinking about how small that swimsuit was. And then I gave myself like 2 days, a complete panic. And then I thought, okay, now what? Now what are we going to do? What is the next step in this journey? And I look back at that swimsuit photos and I'm like, they were fantastic. Why was I freaked out? But also in that freak out, there was some action items. I was like, I better, increase my water. I better pick up the steps. I better, right? And so I think to answer your question, it's to break it down, is to remember that in this moment, nothing is going to be great or terrible. It's just this moment. But also, what steps can I take to continue on? And I think that's how I'm staying motivated on this journey too. It's like, gosh, it feels like a whole year, a year and a month. I've been preparing for this by the time we step on that stage. And all I can do is just take it a day at a time.
Yeah, and someone just asked where you're from. I know you're California.
Yeah. California girl. I live in Fresno, California, which is right in the middle. If you could fold California in half,
Yeah,
that's where I'm from.
I have family there, so I knew exactly where you're from.
Yay. You know
So
why I
I
got
have to
hot then?
ask, exactly. So one thing that I really love about you and your content is that you always have great quotes and, reminders for all of us. Because one of my favorite ones from you is snuggle, don't struggle. Like snuggle to God and don't
Yeah.
sit there and struggle. That was something I read, and it will forever stick with me. So what is a quote or something that you have in the back of your mind to remind you when you feel overwhelmed or uncertain? What is that special quote for you?
When I feel overwhelmed or uncertain, because I have so many quotes, um, I think I would just marinate on scripture. Be still and know that I'm God. Because I am somebody who doesn't hold still. It's so important for me to just every now and then, you gotta pause, Chantéa. You gotta hold still. And when I get really wrapped up in the what ifs and what if nots, I have to remember that God is bigger than me, bigger than my stress, bigger than my worries, my anxiety, my next step, my goals for myself. And sometimes the detour is the win, right? Sometimes the loss is the win. And so that's something I do. It's on my mirror, be still, know that I'm God. But also I sometimes will just meditate on scripture that I've heard or sayings that I've heard from church. So that one was from something that I thought of when I was at church. He didn't quite say it that way, but that's how I heard it. So the snuggle, don't struggle was born there.
That stuck with me. I said she needs a T-shirt because I heard that I went yes, like it was
Oh,
just a
thank you for
moment
that.
because
Yeah.
it's just very true. Like a lot of times we struggle, we feel alone. But I'm like, we're not. Just
Yeah.
snuggle and
Yeah.
snuggle with
Snuggle.
God above. So that's what it's about. So
Oh,
I
thank you.
see.
That was a long time ago, girl. You're like an OG. Thank you for that.
But it's a good one though. That's a really really good one.
Thank you.
So before we go, because I could talk to you forever, but before we go, we like to play a little game here.
Okay.
Okay, it's called This or That.
Okay.
Now I let guests have one where it could be both because
Okay.
it could happen. Okay,
Okay.
sneakers or stilettos.
Stilettos.
Okay.
I'm
I
I'm
had a
6 feet.
feeling you
Do
would
I
say
tell you why, or do I just
no,
one word
no,
it?
no. Tell me why.
Oh, well, I'm 6 feet tall. I should say that. My husband's about 5'10 3/4" on a good day. And so it took me a while to just sort of mature and grow in my own stature and be comfortable with that. And so the higher the platform, the higher the shoe, the closer to God. We'll just say that. I'm just kidding.
Hey, there we go. Oh, and someone said they love that we're matching. I promise it was not
Oh,
planned that we both were green. So,
hey, Bree.
okay, here's a good one. Early bird or night owl?
Oh, early bird. I'm not a night person. In fact, my kids, they'll say at night, "Can you tuck me in, mom? Can you pray with me?" I'm not that mom. They will not have any memories of me reading a bedtime story to them. Like, by 8 o'clock, I'm spent. I don't want to see or touch anyone. In fact, the baby, she's 8 now, but she'll always be the baby. She'll always say at night, "Mom, can you pray with me?" And literally, I just touch her forehead and I say, "Bless the baby," and I walk away.
Hey, it's still a
Because I'm
prayer.
tapped out.
It works. She's still gonna be blessed. That's all that matters.
Bless. Bless the baby.
So, do you prefer a phone call or text?
Oh, if you saw how many text messages I had right now, probably 600 or more. I'm not exaggerating. So, yes. I mean, I read them. I just don't respond to them.
I mean, hey, at least you did beat them. It can be a lot. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, my husband
so
just chimed in. Neither.
oh,
You little turkey butt.
he coming up here spilling tea. That's for sure.
Yes, she is.
So, would you prefer natural glam or full glam?
Natural. In fact, I thought today I was like, "Ooh, girl, you went a little heavy on the eyes." I'm more of a natural girl. Um, I, when I first started doing Instagram, I used to swipe and use the filters, but it just felt like so much pressure. And I didn't like having to go to the grocery store and running into people that followed me and feeling like, oh my God, I don't look like what you see online. And so for me, less is more because I want you to know exactly what I look like. I don't want to feel any sort of pressure when I show up in the interview room or at Walmart, like, girl, this is me. And so natural.
Okay. So evening gown or swimsuit?
Oh, well, last year I fell in swimwear right before I went on stage. Um, so normally I would say swimwear, but I still have a little bit of PTSD from that fall. Um, and normally my evening gowns are too short because I'm so tall. But I fixed both of those problems. I've got custom gowns last year and this year. And then well, not fall, I just got some new swimwear shoes. So with all those things neutralized, I would say swim because I've been working my literal tail off.
Yes, and you look amazing. So my
Thank
last one
you.
for you is quiet night in or spontaneous night out?
Oh, quiet night in. Yes. My husband is the one that drags me out every single time. If I just stay in the house, he jokes with me that I'm like, it's such a beautiful day to stay in the house.
And speaking of your husband, I know he's a firefighter, so I just want to
Yes.
say thank you for your service while he can actually
Oh,
hear that. He's
yes.
keeping people safe, and that's a really, really tough job to put yourself, really into the fire. So thank you so much for your service. And
My
he says
fault.
you're a hermit.
Stop with the comments. Yes, he did say I'm a hermit. I mean, he's not wrong. I think that's why I love pageants so much, is because you know how Beyonce says she's like Sasha Fierce online, and I feel like it allows me to be this like bigger than life kind of who I might be on the inside. It might be, but like day to day, I'm such a presence, and I mean that humbly. Like I'm tall, I've got big hair. So sometimes it's hard to hide, right? Pageants allow me to not hide and not be afraid to not hide, but sometimes I don't want to be on. So, which is why I would just rather stay in the house.
And there's nothing wrong with that because, being out there, like you mentioned, like a Beyonce, that takes a lot of
Yes,
energy. So when you're home, it's kind of like, let me just kind of relax, and be that hermit, as he said.
yes, he's not wrong.
Well, you know what? I just want to say a huge, huge thank you so much for joining us, for giving us your insight, your advice, for just being an amazing woman that you are. It's just been such a pleasure talking with you. And if you don't mind sharing how you can be found, that has been such a popular question. Everybody wants to know how they can keep up with your
Yes.
journey, how they can find you with everything you have going on.
I'm gonna type it in the chat. That's my handle. And then I've got a Facebook page. Everything is Chantéa McIntyre. My TikTok is that. My blog is that, chanteamcintyre.com. So I'm all Google me. Do people still say that, or am I dating
No,
myself?
no, still say Google. It'll come up.
Good, good. Yes, everywhere.
Well, thank you so much. It's time for you to get back to mom duties. Homework
Yes.
is waiting for
Oh, no
you.
kidding. It's a joy. Yes. I think we've got a hair appointment. I'm taking Bible study tonight. We've got to make dinner. I probably will take off the lashes because I think this is a lot for middle school Bible study.
But they look great. So,
Thank you.
so thank you again so much for joining us. It really has been a pleasure, and we really thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And good luck in Miss California, USA. It's coming up soon.
Thank you. 94 days, but who's counting?
You're not.
Not me. Not me.
Well, you take care, and thank you
Thank you.
again so very much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.